Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Today we're taking a quick look at the ALPS power station. This is a massive 186,000 milliamp hour capacity battery that can provide up to 600 watts of charging power. Now we have seen some other high capacity power banks in the past that have a full AC/DC outlet, great if you're camping or on the go, but this thing is almost 2 times the size and it has even 2 AC ports, as you can see there, plus the more conventional Type-C ports that you get for charging up another device using this power delivery 60-watt port, along with 2 Qualcomm Quick Charge enabled full-size USB Type-A ports for charging smaller devices like smartphones, as well as even a 12-watt cigarette-style plug for car appliances. So if you have any devices like a GPS navigator, for example, you can also provide power to it using this plug. So this takes things to the extreme if you're trying to stay away from outlet for a longer period of time, and believe it or not, that's something I've actually encountered over the past few weeks. Here in Seattle, when temperatures reached record highs, the power went out. So having one of these would allow us to still run things like the fridge. It takes around 3.5 hours to charge to 80%, which is crazy considering that it has this gigantic 186,000 milliamp hour capacity. And it does this using a dual ported charging system. To keep things running safely, there is a fan that will keep on preventing it from overheating. And finally, another interesting secondary feature is a built-in LED torch or flashlight on the other side that we'll demo later in this video that you can use to illuminate subjects. It becomes a lamp on its own. It's super bright and even has an SOS mode that you can activate. As far as the pricing is concerned, because it is such a huge capacity, we are talking about a model here that sells for a little north of $380, so it's definitely going to be expensive compared to smaller power banks, but if you again need something that will get you juice, a lot of backup power when on the road, this can definitely come in handy. There is an optional solar panel attachment as well that you can use to further charge it even if you're completely off the grid, which is a pretty interesting idea, although it's not included in the base model that we see here. It comes in this cardboard box that again says Portable Power Station AC/DC LED light. So in the first one, we've got the AC adapter for, again, plugging it into the wall, and to charge it up, it has one barrel plug, as well as a cigarette-style car adapter. If you want to charge it up a little bit while you're driving and in the car, you can also give it a top-up. It's no surprise that with this huge capacity, it weighs around 15 pounds, which is definitely a bit heavy, but still manageable with the handlebar built on in. The construction quality is made out of a fusion between polycarbonate plastic, which feels very rugged, as well as some rubber accents that prevent it from sliding around. It is IP21, so if it splashes a little bit of rain water on it, it should still survive. And here's an estimation of how many charge cycles you can get out of average devices. For a smartphone, typically around 3,000 milliamp hours, you can get up to 42 charges with this. 8 cycles for a laptop, 17 for a tablet, 31 for a camera, and if you're running something like just an LED lamp, up to 50 hours. A mini fridge can also work up to 10 hours, a fan up to 17 hours, and a 43-inch HD TV up to 4.6 hours. Wi-Fi router can supply and operate up to 16.8 hours. The display on the front here we can activate just by tapping on the power key for a few seconds, and then it will pop onto life. As you can see there, it is pretty easy to read and shows you the vital info at a glance, even including an estimation of how long the battery is able to continue to run in its current state. Individual ports can also be turned on or off, such as this region here controlling the Type-C as well as the Type-A ports. You can either turn it on or disable it. Same thing goes on over here with the AC and DC ports. You can also turn it off if you prefer. We're able to see the thickness as well as the ventilation here for the fan, and more importantly, this is the port that you use to actually charge up the power station itself. Now finally, here is the rear with that LED light, which is running across the entire width of the power station, so quite large, and then turning it on, you can see how it is super bright. In fact, we can even dim all the lights here in our surroundings, and it still makes it pretty easy to make out content, especially if we further kind of twist the angle sideways and we point kind of an object here. You can see how bright it is. It can act as a reading light, or if you're in outdoor environments, even your sole source of lighting. And it's pretty energy efficient because it is just using LEDs, diffused pretty well. Here is actually a slightly more bright mode. And then the third one here is the SOS mode, so you can try and get people's help if they are nearby. So here's a quick demo. Let's try actually charging a laptop. So I'm going to plug in the Type-C port here, and that's sufficient to provide full charge basically to this laptop. I can even use the laptop while it's being charged up. Same thing goes with most ultra portables and MacBooks these days. Let's try plugging in another appliance now onto the edge, and we're going to just pop this in, tap on the bottom connector there, indicating that we want to use AC, and right now I have it connected to a router. So let's see if this will kind of turn on after a second, and indeed we are now fully connected. If I wanted to, I can further extend the setup by also using the Type-A port, plug into a phone, and I have basically everything with me on the road, including Wi-Fi, including my computer, my phone, getting charged up and ready to go. In this mode, at around 58% remaining for the power station, it can sustain for around 7 hours. The fan only kicks in when charging larger products to prevent overheating. When it's doing just a simple charge for a phone or tablet, it can also just fully charge it without even turning on, so it becomes silent. One thing I will say is that the placement of the ports for the AC connectors maybe could be a little bit further apart in some cases. They are a little close, so if your connector head is a little bit thicker or wider, it might be tough to plug in two at the same time. But if both of those ports are relatively slim and you point them in the opposite directions, one downwards facing, one upwards facing, they can still pop in there. And in testing, I was able to roughly hit the numbers that was shown in that manual earlier. In terms of charging rates, a full laptop usually charged up in under 2 hours, which isn't surprising considering it's able to supply as much juice as needed for pretty much every single device under the sun. Again, since this thing can get you up to 600 watts. So you can certainly check out more details if you're interested in the links down below. But for now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.